News You Need is a look at current events and how they affect the college community and beyond. And now here's the host of News You Need, Dr. Ed Simpson.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another exciting, amazing edition of News You Need. This is the show where we talk about what's in the news with the most amazing human beings in the whole world, which is our USM students. And we have another great group today, Dr. Hale. So this is the show where we talk about news headlines, issues that are facing us as a community, what's on the minds of our students, hopefully that are interesting issues that we can talk about here on campus or around the world. And the reason we care is that as a mildly functioning sort of democracy, we don't know this week, Dr. Hale, whether we continue to be a democracy, but we're close. We have to know the issues that we're confronted with, and as citizens make decisions on those issues. So that's why we talk about what's in the news. That's why it's important. So if we would, let's introduce ourselves a little bit. I'm going to ask Dr. Hale to introduce himself. But for our guests, if you would, maybe give us your name, your major, maybe where you're from, and what year you're in, maybe, and then what student group you're with. So Dr. Hale?
Yeah, I'm back again. Dragged out of the hall, kicking and screaming, ready to get started once more to talk about the news. And I would argue, just to piggyback off what you were saying, that even if you think we are in the middle of a pseudo-democracy, it's still very important to see what's going on, to read the news, watch the news, listen to the news, however it is. Listening would be great, given what we're doing right now. Yep. To know what's going on. Otherwise,
yep,
it just gets worse.
Never give up. Never give up. Okay.
Hi, my name is Asmita. I am from Bangladesh. I am a junior in quantitative economics. I am the president of the Economics Club and also part of the student advisory board for the Women in Leadership Center over at Harkins Hall and part of the Honors College. I'm also a resident assistant on one of our dorms.
Wow. We'll talk about some of that, yeah.
I am Kelsey Dorr. I am a part of a lot of student organizations. I'm with Kappa Kappa Psi, a honorary band service fraternity. I'm one of the Piccolo section leaders for the Pride of Mississippi.
Ooh.
And lastly, I'm an ambassador for the College of Nursing and Health Professions.
Wow. Okay. That's amazing. You guys are amazing, as many of our students absolutely. Oh, and we have another one, so we're going to go. But let me go. As she gets settled here, we have one more guest coming in. We'll get her settled. Dr. Hale will get her settled. So talk to me about, so you're from Bangladesh.
Yes.
And how's it going back there in Bangladesh? Do you stay in touch with those folks?
Yeah, I try my best. I don't know. I'd say
It's
things are
settled down a
pretty
little bit, hasn't it?
volatile still. We're ramping up to an election. We just had our, revolution back home last year.
Yes.
In July. And so we've had an interim government for the time being, but we're about to have our first election in a very long time. We have high hopes for it. I would say that things are this and that. I would say like a lot of people are pretty hopeful, but on the other hand, there is a power vacuum that was filled by groups that were already quite popular, that wasn't the government, but wasn't much better than the government. So we do have we're seeing a lot of extremism. We're seeing a lot of right-wing religious
Is that right?
political stuff. We actually just had our National University just had an election for the student board, and that's a pretty good kind of pulse check of how the country's doing, because we have a really diverse student population and a really active student population, and it was almost completely just the religious wing of politics that won just as a landslide. So.
Wow. Okay, so that seems to be sweeping around the world.
Yeah, it's absolutely the case. I mean, it's a continuation of what we've been seeing all over the place, right? Yeah. Is this rise of kind of right-wing politics? It's just the kind of phase that we seem to be going through globally.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I am very curious. I wish somebody would come on here and explain to me what the attraction is. I'm baffled. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe you agree. So, and you can help me understand what's the attraction to that side of the spectrum.
I feel like a lot of people turn to something that extreme when they see that the more moderate decisions that we've been making hasn't been working out for them, especially when you see a country like Bangladesh where people are kind of fighting over resources and we don't really have a lot to go around, and they see that more left-leaning, by comparison, left-leaning governments have been not providing what the people need. People go, okay, well, I have, nothing else left to lose. This guy is promising me a whole lot of sounds like good stuff, and so I feel like people tend to turn that way. Especially, I think Bangladesh also has like a majority of a Muslim population. So
Interesting.
yeah.
I think you bring up something quite interesting, given the question that you asked, because when you look at kind of the way that the breakdown tends to work inside of the United States too, I think this idea of resource scarcity is actually quite important. That does seem to be something that plays in, whether you buy it or not. It seems to be that way. Don't huff at me.
I'm huffing. I'm huffing.
Because it does seem to be the case. Like if I'm in a situation where I feel like I'm just not doing well, and I don't want to blame myself for that. There's got to be various structural reasons for that. It's very easy to say, but it was better before. I think it's very common to have that sort of mentality, and so that leads you kind of naturally into a conservative way of thinking.
I'm not huffing. I'm sighing.
Well, stop.
I understand. I get what I want our guest to introduce herself before we forget you.
Okay.
Jump in here and speak directly in the microphone if you would.
Right here?
Yep.
Okay. My name's Mackenzie Tullis. I'm a sophomore. I'm a part of the Honors College. I'm in Spanish Club, History Club.
Ooh.
I'm an undersecretary of media. Yeah.
For
Student government.
student government. You know, they have 1,000 undersecretaries over there. So Sarah, your boss?
We are currently working on homecoming.
Oh, excellent.
So,
oh,
yeah,
okay.
it'll
Ooh,
be really
we should
fun.
talk about homecoming at some point.
We're still planning it. Still very under wraps.
Oh,
You'll have to
right. I
wait.
know. I
We need
hear.
to make sure it's a surprise.
You can't give us a hint.
I can't.
Really? Does the letters K-pop enter into it?
No,
Oh, no.
unfortunately not. I would really love K-pop Demon Hunters. for the
Oh,
entire
no,
game.
see? Oh, I do. It's
because
the
I
third week in a
adore that
row. The
movie.
third week in a row we have mentioned K-pop.
Every week it comes back
It's
up.
coming.
It's gonna. You know what, listener? Keep. It's gonna happen
Yep.
every week.
Yep. Okay, well, I love that. What's your major, by the way?
English major. I have a history minor. So.
Oh, okay, great. Now, let's get back to you. So you're nursing.
I'm actually speech pathology and
Oh,
audiology.
speech pathology.
I forgot
Okay.
to introduce that.
So what's going on over there?
Not much. I'm a senior, so a lot of us are looking at graduating, getting our clinical hours in, making sure we have all of our prereqs done so we can start looking at grad schools. So
Yeah, that's right. So speech pathology, you pretty much need a graduate degree
yes.
to work in the field. Yeah, so, okay. Well, that's great. Economics club, how we doing? How's our economics club doing?
We're doing great. We actually just started up this semester. We had a little bit of a late start because we have a new exec board. We just passed our first proper constitution. So it's very, very
Hey,
exciting, very early
I thought
days.
I thought we didn't like constitutions anymore.
Anyway, I want to ask a larger question
Yeah.
since we have an economic representative here.
Yeah.
How's the economy? Can you just explain this to me?
Good job.
Okay.
Yeah, give it to us. 30 seconds.
Just explain the
Actually,
entire economy.
no, 15 seconds.
Okay. How about 10?
That's good.
Fine, 8.
Not good. I can do 2 words. Not good. I would say that every time I check in with an economics, a political science, or a history major, it's just not good. Things are not good.
Things are not good from any perspective you look at. Now, I will say this. I do think it's worthy to have a discussion about what is a tariff and who pays a tariff. So as an economic, and as students, I really want to hear about this from our students. Are you all feeling the clear increase in prices? It does seem, at least to me, that there's an increase in prices. Are you feeling these tariffs? And so from an economics perspective, what is a tariff? Who pays for it?
A tariff is something that we put on the goods from another country that when they come in and when they're being brought into the country, that customers are paying.
There you go. So I'm gonna actually interrupt, and we're gonna come back after the break and really delve into the fascinating topic of tariffs.
Southern Miss Radio and T-Bone's Records and Cafe team up to bring you the pick of the litter, a new CD that we both think is significant and worthy of support. When you purchase the pick of the litter at T-Bone's Records and Cafe, you are not only getting a great new CD at a discount, but part of your purchase price goes to WUSM. Support your community radio station and partake in great music at the same time.
Hot dog!
The pick of the litter is the new album from Wolf Alice, The Clearing, featuring the song White Horses. That's the Southern Miss Radio, T-Bone's Records and Cafe pick of the litter. Great music at a discount to help Southern Miss Radio.
Look through your children's eyes to see the true magic of a forest. It's a storybook world for them. You look and see a tree. They see the wrinkled face of a wizard with arms outstretched to the sky. They see treasure in pebbles. They see a windy path that could lead to adventure. And they see you, their fearless guide through this fascinating world.
Find a forest near you and start exploring at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Hi, everyone, and we are back, and as usual, we kind of chattered through the break here. So I don't mean to put anybody on the spot, but this idea of tariffs is super, super important, I think. And, of course, there was a new round announced just this morning. Mm-hmm. So 100% on...
Was it trucks?
No, it was 25% on big trucks, 100% on, medicine, pharmaceuticals, 100% tariffs on pharmaceuticals. I'm sure we don't need medicine in this country. And then another 50%, I believe, on furniture, which our students may care about more, I think, than anything else. So the idea about tariffs, of course, I don't want to put you on the spot, but our economics folks. Mm-hmm. So who pays the tariff?
The tariff is something that the customer is paying.
Yes.
So when we're putting tariffs on goods from other countries, they're coming in, and we're actually the people who are paying for the increase in price. The idea is that that will act as discouragement to not buy, but kind of placing tariffs on goods from other countries on the basis of security and economic independence just kind of doesn't make sense in the current political climate of economic interdependence that we've gotten to. We wouldn't be able to survive without goods from other countries because America is specialized in more tertiary, quaternary sector goods and things like that. So things like furniture and medicine does not have to be our discipline.
Well, and to add a caveat to that, so when the price goes up by, say, 50% or whatever, like that, there are options technically on who eats that. It could be that the companies eat it, but, I mean, they can only eat so much of that. And so even if they did absorb a fair amount, there will be some amount that it gets passed along to the consumer. But the fact of the matter is they're not going to consume much of it. It's going to go along to the consumer. That's just the default kind of course of operations for tariffs.
Right. And there is some economic theory that says, well, if you make the incoming cost so high that you will spur domestic manufacturing. So you'll spur, these medicines are so expensive, nobody can afford them, so therefore we'll make them domestically and they'll be cheaper. Well, number one, that could take decades. Number two, we don't necessarily have the raw materials to do that. And number three, who's going to do that? So all that kind of stuff. So are our students feeling these tariffs? Talk to me about the student experience of buying stuff.
I'm going to be quite frank. I have a very strong support system with my family and with like my scholarship I've gotten. So I've been very fortunate to not really feel a lot of the financial effects that I've been going through lately. Yeah. So I can't really offer my personal spirit on this as much as you would like me to, so I apologize. Okay. I know that, like, as a college student, it is like a stereotype / a true fact that you're just going to be a broke college student, and there's kind of these things where it's like you do kind of struggle to afford basic things, and like, how do I make sure I get X, Y, Z? I've heard my peers complaining about, like, gas. But again, some of these things, because I'm not as in the loop as, say, an economics person would be, I can't really say if these are for sure, like, a side effect. I can just say that I've heard my friends worrying about these issues. So
there you go. Well, that's very legit. What are you hearing over there?
I'm also kind of in the same boat. I've got a good relationship with my family, so like they've been helping me out with college. But like in terms of like buying like personal things here, in terms of like groceries and stuff like that, yeah, it's a little more expensive than it was when I first got here. I'm also from Louisiana, so like the tax is a little higher in Louisiana than it is here, so it's a little better in Mississippi per se. But
interesting. Okay. All right. Well, really interesting. Well, I know when I go to the grocery store, it feels like about a third more than it was a year ago.
Yeah, I don't know if a year is quite right, but yeah, it's probably around there. I mean, it definitely has gone up as someone who has to go and buy food for family, kids and stuff, and then kids eat a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Kids do eat a lot. I think they eat too much.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe
they
less.
need to eat less.
Would be better.
Yeah.
And in this case, it really is like noticeable.
Yeah.
Right? It is more expensive. As far as the exact raw numbers, I don't know. I haven't been measuring it necessarily, but it does feel that way for sure.
Yeah, it does. So tariffs are big. So what else are our students thinking about? What's on the minds of our students that might be in the news?
I think there's a lot of talk about what speech rights students have. Sorry,
No, you're
I keep
fine.
backing up too much. What speech rights students have, I think that's like a big thing that's re-entered the conversation. There's been a lot of events happening, I'd say, just in like the first 4 weeks of college. I'm kind of worried personally how it will affect freshmen, because there's been a lot of tragic or like just bad events that have happened on college campuses. There's been a lot of protests all across the country. And there's just a lot of conversation about, like, on a college campus, what should happen on a college campus, what should we be able to say or do or speak. If we're at a graduation, what can the valedictorian say? And there's a lot of, like, pushback and argument and just general tension from my peers about, like, what can we say, what can we not say. We should say more, we should say less, yada, yada, yada kind of thing.
Yeah, I would say there's been a lot of conversation like that around me. I'm around a lot of other international students, and it is a whole different game for them. There are a lot of people who would like to be saying things that are not being able to say what they're thinking anymore, so they're not as much part of the dialogue. They're not as up to date in the news. They're not as much a part of the campus community. You know, funding has changed and the clubs have changed, and some have been closed for a little bit now. And so even what I say here and now is limited, and I've actually been thinking about how much I can talk about what I've been feeling and seeing. I've been staying up to date with the news, but it is limited to what I can say, and it has been something that's been really largely affecting a lot of international students on campus, which we're a very diverse campus. So
yeah,
absolutely.
You're nodding. You don't have anything to add? You don't want to add to that?
I
You
don't
don't
have
have
anything
to.
to add, really. I just do really agree with that. Yeah.
You're hearing the same thing? Free speech concerns or speech concerns, rather?
Yeah.
And we know that extends to faculty as well.
Oh,
It's a concern.
okay. So here you go, right? So in a country that has taken allegedly great pride in this idea of the First Amendment and free speech, we are now in a moment of absolute abject fear and anxiety over the words we use. All of us. I guarantee you, from Joe Paul on this campus down to me, down to you as a student, down to our freshmen, there is, oh my gosh, what can I say?
Well, sorry.
Yeah,
I'm not
go, jump
trying to
in.
interject. Well, I think it's not just like a random, like a spurt. I do think there is a push and pull historically when it comes to speech and how we use it, especially on schools. I mean, you look back at the Tinker Twins case, which is the case in the 70s of, I think it's protests in the Vietnam War, where it's, can you wear the armbands? So, like, there's always been a discussion about, and a push and pull back and forth between what can students say and what can students wear. It just kind of depends on where we are, like, falling in that discussion now. I don't want to be like a fearmonger and say, like, everything is terrible right now out of nowhere or it's bad, because I think this is a discussion that's being had for forever, ever since there was schools. Because there's less rights of speech in high schools compared to college, but then you still also have to consider a college is a campus, which means you do have to have some kind of limits.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay. So the fact that you know Tinker versus Des Moines is amazing.
It's one of my favorite court cases, actually. I know a good
Wait a
bit.
minute. The fact that we have Dr. Hale, a student with a favorite court case, is amazing.
I don't know that I can tell you what my favorite court case is.
I know
You're
that.
ahead of me on that
Yeah,
one.
that's amazing. So
But,
what we're talking about here is Tinker was a case out of the 70s where a group of high school students wore black armbands to school. The principal suspended them for a political protest. The Supreme Court upheld the principal's move, which set the standard that the principal is the publisher of student press in high schools, and that as long as the principal saw speech as disruptive, he or she could regulate it as a high school student. Now, it gets to college campuses, the court cases flip. That colleges are, you guys are adults. You have the same basic First Amendment rights as anybody else in the population. But the court cases has also been very consistent with time, manner, and place. So the idea is that the president of the university can say, can regulate speech in terms of time, manner, and place. Not content, but time, manner, and place. So you're saying our students are really wrestling with what can we say, when can we say it, where can we say it?
I feel like there's a return to the same conversation of the 70s, and I'd say the Cold War era, where we are now questioning again, or having the same conversation. I don't want to say questioning, having the same conversation and the same general atmosphere of students saying, I would like to say XYZ, and I would like to do this, and now we're kind of back to reconsidering the same questions that I think the Tinker Twins were questioning.
I think that's absolutely fascinating what you just said,
Really
because the way that we have thought about that era is to look back and go, that was not great. And so to say that we're now in a phase that's kind of analogous to that we're kind of reliving it, is kind of fascinating. It's like, but wait, weren't we just talking about how that wasn't a good thing? And so to be back in a place where we're starting to think, like, what should I say? When should I say it? Should I say anything at all? Should I silence myself? Is just really, really interesting to hear you say. But I don't disagree.
No, and it breaks my heart. And it breaks my heart in particular to hear our international students say, we feel like we can't speak at all. And I'll say things that you may be thinking, which is you have a federal government who apparently has no problem reaching in anywhere to pull anybody with a visa and say, get the heck out. And is that where we want to be as a society? So how are our students feeling about where we are with that kind of stuff? So free speech is a problem. Is there anything else that our students are chatting about in terms of things like visas, things like tariffs and inflation and all this other kind of stuff?
Yeah, so I'll just say that other than, what already happened during all these protests to do with Palestine and
Gaza.
all of that, where all students who were already facing any kind of disciplinary action from their universities who were international students were then deported. And, they've actually made a point to point out that the social medias and all kind of communication to do with the public that international students are doing, or that anybody on a visa is doing, is going to be monitored for, extremist views and things like that. And a real scary period went by where any international student, regardless of what their beliefs and what they had said or not said, our visa statuses were being pulled daily by the International Student Center, Scholar Services, who are really wonderful. But they were being pulled daily just to make sure that something hadn't been changed, because something that was unprecedented was that some statuses were being changed without notification.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, in our school, we had at least two on the doctoral level visas that we had to deal with. In ways that were completely unprecedented.
Yeah.
And so no notice, no process, no due process, no nothing. And we don't even know. We're not even told why something. So anyway, there you go. Really nuts. So we're gonna take one more break. The time goes so fast. We will try to get to some other topics, maybe something a little lighter. Don't know. We'll see on the other side.
Southern Miss Radio is home to Don Rodney Radio's Rhythm and Blues Show.
WUSM, Southern Miss Radio, 88.5, Don Rodney Radio's Rhythm and Blues Show. Another summertime song. I love this.
Don Rodney Radio spotlights the composers and performers of Mississippi Delta blues, such as Charlie Patton, Mississippi John Hurt, Robert Johnson, and more. Here on Southern Miss Radio, Sundays from noon until 2.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Hi, everyone, and we are back. So I forget what we were talking about.
We talked about
I
many
truly
things.
forget.
Many things. We were specifically talking about visa statuses.
Visa status, yeah. So this is the part of the ongoing light bulb, just the switch that flipped in this country 8 months ago that we've been dealing with on a daily basis. But I do want to throw out some other headlines. Now, is there anything else that our students are wrestling with? I mean, those are certainly big enough issues. Is there anything else? Now, we have homecoming coming up. That's exciting. Are you guys taking part at all in homecoming?
The economics club?
Yeah.
Not yet. We're just trying to get on our feet, honestly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Band is heavily involved in homecoming.
Yeah, I know you guys are. Yeah. And did you say you're a leader of the piccolo section?
Yes, one of three.
One of three leaders in the piccolo section.
Yes, I love my co-section leaders. They're awesome.
There you go. And have you played the piccolo forever?
I've played pick since junior year of high school, but I've played flute since probably 6th grade.
Okay. Do you play any other instruments?
No, just those two.
So did I just learn you're supposed to say pick? That's what you call it?
I call it pick for short. I don't know why.
Okay.
Pick.
I'm gonna file that one away.
I would do
Me
it.
too.
Claire.
Anytime I talk about piccolos moving forward.
Claire.
Pick.
Sax. There you go. Love it. So let me throw a couple of headlines at you. You guys tell me what you think. This is from Inside Higher Education. How the Education Department wants to advance, quote, patriotic education, unquote.
I'll sit this one out.
Gotcha. What do you guys think about this idea of patriotic education from your federal government?
It's very interesting, I will say that.
It's very interesting. My concern is more of the vagueness of terms, if that makes sense. When you use a term such as patriotism, nationalism, even I can't think of another word, but those big terms such as patriotism and nationalism have many different interpretations. You can interpret them to mean many different things. So they're very easily manipulated. I'm a patriotic person. I firmly believe in America. I don't think patriotism is bad at all. In fact, I think it's healthy for a country to have patriotism because that's what keeps us together. Like there is a root in that you need some kind of nationalism to have a country. But there also is an idea of you need to make sure that nationalism isn't like overreaching and isn't turning into something that's dangerous, as well as you need to make sure the patriotism you have doesn't turn into a hatred of a other that isn't your own country.
Yeah.
And so the vagueness of those terms without that specificity, I guess, is the concern. Is what is the definition of patriotic materials? Is that something that talks about our history? Because if so, yes, of course, let's talk about the history. Is that something that talks about the good history? We need to talk about more than just the, you know what I mean? Like there's a bunch of complexity there.
What are you a sophomore, junior, senior?
Sophomore.
Wow. Okay.
We get exceptional people. On
We
the
really
radio
do.
here.
Our producers are amazing.
I
Okay.
would add to that I personally would argue that being anti-authoritarian and also being pro-immigration would both be very patriotic to the way that this country functions. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I would say that having like as you were saying, that like having that kind of patriotism is, I would say, I think you could add to the classroom, but like only to a certain amount of extent, because you don't want to like erase the things that have already been written, and you don't want to rewrite anything that has happened.
Interesting you should say that. So here's the actual first sentence of that story. Professional historians say the department's plan, meaning the Department of Education, is part of the Trump administration's broader attempt to create an Orwellian, quote, truth ministry, unquote, and omit the more troubling aspects of the nation's past. So we've already seen the Trump administration strong-arm museums to change exhibits to make it more flattering, I guess. I don't know what they're doing. They don't want to talk about black people and slavery. They don't want to talk about civil wars and that kind of stuff. I'm not sure what they do want to talk about.
Or also the treatment of Native people.
Or Native Americans' right to Trail of Tears. So our students, you would question that, or are we engaged in that kind of thing that we're thinking?
I think the current that's kind of running under everything we're talking about, and something that I've seen from the student body as well, from like all sides of the discussion is that we no longer agree on what the facts of anything are and what the history of
such a
anything is.
good point.
And so like what you just said was we don't agree what the definition of something is.
You
And
worded
so-
that very well, by the way. But you can continue. You worded that very well.
But no, yeah, it's just I feel like we're at a point where we can't say this is the case, this is how I feel about it, and then you respectfully disagree. What happens is this is how I see it, and somebody goes, those just are not the facts. And so that brings us to a point where we can't have discussion because we don't know what the foundations of the debate are.
I've actually been considering this a lot when it comes to the facts issue, because facts are existing in a context, and you really have to look at that context, especially when you're talking about historical things. And that is the concern, is that on both sides of America, whether you are far left or far right, because that is the only sides people tend to see. There's no, like, maybe I'm kind of left, maybe I'm kind of a little here. It's like you are either this or that. But on both sides, there is this idea of, like, I am right and you are wrong, and there is no complexity to this issue. It is simply that we solve the issue by doing this. The biggest concern I see with that kind of thinking is that we tend to kind of band-aid issues, if that makes sense. For instance, there'll be like a gaping hole, and we say there's a hole, we need to fix the hole, how do we fix the hole? And it's like, well, I think we should fix the hole this way, but maybe that way of thinking, suggested by the left or the right, forgets an important part of the conversation. And when the other person brings up that part of the conversation, instead we just slap a band-aid on top, and we're like, well, that'll hold us for now. But again, wounds get infested, it's going to get bigger, and we still haven't actually solved how to handle the whole issue because we're only really listening to what one person thinks about it.
Wow. How do we get her over here? We need you over here.
Yeah, so I believe, given how things are going here, that this will be the last time I get dragged out of the hallway. I don't think I'm needed anymore.
I
think you have some new co-hosts, so it's been nice talking to you all.
No, so I just love hearing our young people articulate the thoughts. I want to make sure you have a chance to weigh in.
I mean, no, like, I completely agree with that. I mean, just, yeah, you pretty much said it all.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I love how articulate you are on these issues. You guys have been absolutely amazing. We are way over time as usual, but I do want to throw. There's one thing huge looming at us that will hit before our next show, which
is it an asteroid?
No, it is not an asteroid. Although it metaphorical.
I'm
asteroid.
both relieved and also disappointed. Continue.
Okay, this is where the government likely will shut down. I think we are now 4 days away from a government shutdown, and this is different than previous shutdowns because the Trump administration is threatening to lay off hundreds of thousands of federal workers rather than trying to figure out a way to get through the shutdown, simply laying off hundreds of thousands of federal workers. This, of course, is aimed at forcing Democrats to come into the negotiations. So are our students paying attention to this, and do we care whether the federal government at this point shuts down?
I personally haven't heard much about that. Like, that's the first time I'm hearing of it, but like, I do think that will be a big issue on campus.
I feel as though our student body is kind of in a bubble sometimes, just because of how isolated our campus is and how we're not really an interconnected city. We're not really traveling a lot, and there's not a lot much to do off campus, and something to do with the culture of campus itself. And so I would say that I definitely don't hear a lot about current events around campus and from different groups and whatnot. But I will say, and another thing that I think we've been kind of talking about and around is appeasement and how far we can get before
well, you guys are
before we've really given something
amazing.
away. Because I think even when we were talking about, free speech and how much can we say and how much are we picking our battles, we really do have to understand, and like we've said, like some Cold War themes have come back, we really do have to learn our lessons of like how far can we get of pretending to play strategic until it's just a cop-out.
I think a big concern with like what students know is maybe sometimes that they aren't, like, it's not that they're not educated, it might be that like things are heavy. It's a lot to comprehend these really hard issues while also being told as a college student that you're supposed to go out and change the world when you graduate. And I have to figure out how to do that, but I also am failing a class right now, and I can't really focus on the news right now because I'm failing a class. And if I don't pass my class, I can't change the world and make it better. And I'm not saying that's not an excuse for not learning, but it's hard to take in a lot of these topics as a student, especially when you have that weight on you that you're supposed to change it.
Wow. Well, I will tell you, you guys are amazing. Your ability to articulate what we're all feeling is amazing. So thank you very much. I'm just so grateful to you coming in.
And also, I'll just mention, as well as you all seem to have wrestled with this stuff, these are the folks who will make those changes.
Absolutely. And I will tell you, so this is this is one of the reasons why I love this show, doing this show so much, is that I get to be renewed every week by talking to the best people in the whole world, right? So tell everybody, listen to the show, listen to our students. It is unfair. I'm going to say this. I'll leave everybody with this. We're going to close out here in just a second. I'm going to do an Ed rant for about 27 seconds. It is unfair for people who look like me to have placed this burden on people who look like you. The fact that we're looking to you to save our democracy, to push us back between the ditches, to handle these huge issues is unfair. I am sorry about that. I also want to remind you, you're not the first generation. We saw this in the late 60s. We saw this in the 50s. We saw this in the 1890s. We depend on our young people to stay with us, to be engaged, and to save the old folks. So there you go. That's my rant. I went longer than
30 seconds, pretty close.
Oh, that's close. Okay, so this has been a production of Southern Miss Student Media. Our producers are Annabelle Laird and Lily Burkhardt. Our video producer is Isabella Michaud. And our engineer is Liam Keenan. And God willing, and the creek don't rise, we may or not be back next week.
This has been News You Need with Dr. Ed Simpson. News You Need airs Friday afternoon at 12:30 on Southern Miss Radio.